Hey everyone, I have some crazy exciting news. So if you haven't heard, I'm having twins. Yes, there is going to actually be 2 baby business, not just 1. So this video is all about twins. There's a lot of questions that people ask as well. There is just a lot of information that I've actually researched that is specific to twins that is different from a singleton pregnancy, which is just if you're pregnant like normal with only 1 child. I also asked you guys to ask some questions, so there were some questions asked in my Discord as well in the comments of that last video, so I'll be sure to answer those as well. The first thing I actually want to get out of the way is since the last video, we actually had some testing come back. So we did some tests. One of the first things I want to tell you, we just found out, and it's super cool. And we didn't know this last video. So last video, I explained the ultrasound, how my husband and I found out that we are having twins, and we had also chosen to do some non-invasive prenatal testing, NIPT. So what that is it's actually just a blood draw. But even in Canada here, where like I kind of have universal health care and I don't really pay for pretty much everything for healthcare, I did have to pay extra for that, but my group insurance from work did cover it. What non-invasive prenatal testing checks for is chromosome disorders. So, you know, Edwards syndrome, Down syndrome, all those. It checks if your baby has them. Or actually, I shouldn't say if they have them. It's a screening test. So they give you like a chance, a factor. And if it comes back high risk, then you would go on with diagnostic testing that would be more conclusive. We had chosen to do that before we even knew it was twins. And I see a moo coming to join us. We had chosen to do that before we even knew it was twins. So I had the blood draw done and I actually had to go take a day off work and drive to another city to have that done. It came back inconclusive. Now the reason it originally came back inconclusive is because you have to choose for, you know, if you're expecting twins, singleton, whatever. And obviously at that time, we were not aware that I was having twins, so it came back inconclusive. Well, we did the free redraw because they offer you a free redraw, right? We didn't know about the twins at the time. So, and by that point, we did know there was twins and we got the results from that back. First of all, the very fantastic news that the babies are super low risk. So it gives you like a, 1 in 100 chance or 1 in 500 chance. Ours is 1 in 10,000 chance. So pretty much just they're fine. They're healthy in the way of chromosome disorders, and that was wonderful to hear. Now, there's different brands of this test. Of course there is, right? And the one we chose is actually just the one, I didn't really choose it. I just kind of asked the doctor for this non-invasive testing, and that's the brand they offered. We ended up doing the Panorama testing. So what I find out is just in the last year, Panorama is the only brand of this testing that if you're having twins can tell you if they are actually identical or fraternal twins for sure. And I'll explain more on that in a little bit. As well, they can confirm both babies' sex. On all the other tests, all it can tell you is if there's a boy or not. They can't actually confirm both boys, 1 boy, 1 girl, or any of that. So we just happened to do the test that also has that better twin determination. Don't lick your paws. So we got those results back. I was super impatient and I phoned the clinic when I really expected them back. Unfortunately, got a phone call back from the nurse the next day. Super low risk, which is fantastic news. And the twins are identical. This means that the twins were 1 egg and split into 2. Meaning they're identical twins. And in the way of gender, well, they're baby boys. So just so you know, there's more than just fraternal and identical twins. I believe I covered a little bit of this last time, but I'm going to cover it a little bit more right now. The twins we have are di-di, which means they have separate amniotic sacs as well as separate placentas. That is the safest type of twin pregnancy. If they're sharing a placenta, one can be like taking blood from the other, and there's like, it's just a lot more higher risks. Same if they're sharing an amniotic sac, they can get tangled up, just a lot higher risks. Fortunately, ours are separate sacs, separate placentas, lowest risk, but that also meant they were most likely to be fraternal. So the fact that they're identical comes as quite a surprise. Another thing with identical twins is there are no, I don't want to say risk factors, but there's nothing that's actually going to make you more likely to have identical twins. It's the same for everyone across the board. Genetics don't matter, your race doesn't matter, how tall you are doesn't matter. All those things can actually predispose you to fraternal twins, but none of that matters for identical twins. It's just a random chance for everybody. So I'm super excited to find out they're identical. That is super cool. Upon my Googling, it looks like there's about a 0.45 chance of having identical twins. So that is craziness. So, and of course they're both boys because they're identical twins. If they were fraternal, it could have been boy, girl, or whatever, but identical twins are, except in like 4 extreme rare cases in the world ever, are always the same sex. As for, somebody had actually asked, what are the chances of those twins being identical? Well, now we know they are, but what I was told is that 30% of identical twins are di-di, which means they have separate sacs and separate placentas. And previous to this one test that I just so happened to do, even when we didn't know it was twins, the only way you could have actually found out for sure they were identical is to do a swab, like a cheek swab, a DNA test, once they're born. And another thing I was asked is, when will I be off work? If you're not aware, I do have a full-time job. YouTube and playing video games is not my full-time job. I have a full-time job. I'm a manager of a procurement department for a business, and I've worked there many, many years. And I was asked, does this change when I go off work? And yeah, it does. I actually asked the doctor this on our last appointment. Does this change when I should expect to be off work? Because I realistically expected to work until at least mid-July. Now I know these babies are actually going to be being born in mid-July at the latest, so that's obviously not realistic. As well, with twins, I'm going to measure a lot bigger. So that is another thing that comes up. I am not that large of a person. I'm like quite short. I'm only 5'2", so they don't have a lot of room to go upwards, so they're probably just going to go outwards. What my doctor said is be prepared to be off work as early as 24 weeks. She's like, and if you feel really good, well, then you might last until 28 weeks. To put this into perspective, that's sometime in April. I'm really hoping I went to Reddit and I was like, hey, twin mamas out there, when did you work until? And some mamas worked until 24 weeks, and some worked right until they were induced. So that's not a hard and fast rule. It's just obviously more likely that someone who is having twins will have to get off work earlier. I'm hoping to be able to work as long as possible because, of course, you know, having that second income with my husband and I is definitely huge. Moo, what are you doing? And I'm really hoping to be able to work as long as possible. Apparently he is hiding. Moo, there is nothing back there. Okay. I'm hoping to be able to work as long as possible. Another thing I asked about was, does this mean I have to go on bed rest? It does not. The clinic that I attend said she will only put me on bed rest if it's absolutely needed. She doesn't put people who are having twins on bed rest just because they're having twins. This does mean I am going to have more appointments. So the amount of doctor appointments are the same, but the ultrasound appointments are more often. My first ultrasound appointment is actually this Monday. So depending on when I get this video up, probably tomorrow. The ultrasound will be tomorrow from the video. So I guess a lot of the questions I was going to talk about in this was to do with fraternal twins. If you have fraternal twins, that you could be, you know, it can just happen to anybody. It doesn't have to run in your family, but if it does run in your family, it only matters on the mother's side for being genetically disposed to it. Your race can actually come into play. You know, people of certain races are more likely to have twins or multiples. And as well, think crazy things like your height. And of course, if you are older, and when they say that, usually that means advanced maternal age, which is at least 35. Those can all kind of help you out and help you out in the way of having fraternal twins. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, identical twins, it's just the same chance for everybody, and it's ridiculously small. Now that we know it is a baby boy, I am definitely updating my Stream Gifts wish list that is linked below to include some baby boy things. As well, we've decided on a safari nursery. So if you see any cool wall decals or anything like that, preferably Canadian stores, be sure to link them in the... Oops, my battery died. All right, so we're definitely going with a safari nursery because baby boys, and I guess maybe I'll show you my belly. My belly has been growing. So I will be 16 weeks tomorrow, so this is my belly. I don't know if you can see it very good on this, but there you go, this is my belly. All right, everybody, I'm going to be coming out with a new video next week after I go to this ultrasound and find out more cool things. And have any questions, let me know. Bye.